here in Venus. I mean, what do I get out of it but heart attacks and strokes? If y'all want to look down on me and call me a grumpy old man, whatever, old fart, whatever, but I'm going to still be there for the children that's coming along when y'all are gone. Thank you for your time.
Thank you, Mr. Jones. Okay, we'll move into our consent agenda. All matters listed under the consent agenda are to be considered to be routine by the City Council and will be enacted by one motion. There will not be a separate discussion of these items. If discussion is desired, that item will be removed from the consent agenda and will be considered separately. Item number 7, approval of the minutes for the November 8, 2010 regular meeting and the November 16, 2010 special call meeting. And item number 8, approval of the bills for payment. I'm accepting motions to approve the consent agenda.
Make a motion to approve the consent agenda.
Motion by Ms. Prezak.
Second.
Second by Ms. Hoffman. All in favor to approve the consent agenda? All 4, motion carries. Next, we'll move into our regular agenda items. Number 9, discussion of possible selection of solid waste collection and removal provider as presented by IESI, Allied Waste, and Community Waste Disposal. Mr. Reed, I believe we have two visitors with us today. Ms. Laura Capehart from Allied and Mr. Parker, forgive me if I say it wrong. Pomacall.
Yes.
Okay, that would have been my guess. Okay. Mr. Reed, would you like to?
Yes, I'd like to get the discussion started, Mayor. And first, welcome to these 2 representatives. And I must ask, is there a representative here from Community Waste Disposal? All right. Some weeks ago, as required, we advertised for bids for solid waste collection and removal for our city. We've had a contract with IESI for a number of years, and that contract comes up for renewal, I think January 1st, somewhere right in there. And so we've had such a change in the economy that we felt like, or I felt like it would be good to put all of this back out for bids to see if we can decrease the prices some. And so these 3 entities have submitted proposals for the city. Mr. Pomico and Ms. Capehart are here to answer any questions, but to get the conversation started, we sent each of these companies a sample contract, and they responded accordingly. And within that contract, we asked them to write down their estimates for several of the services that we regularly use here in the city. And in your packet, I had presented to you a comparison of these 3 companies in those specific rates that they quoted. I would like to ask one question that I didn't ask beforehand. If you notice, I've got IESI in there twice, one without fuel and one with fuel. Parker, do you know, I couldn't tell from the submittal if the fuel surcharge that has been charged to the city, if that's going to still be in the new contract, or if it isn't. Do you know?
I would say it probably would.
Probably would be?
Yes.
Thank you. Then the comparison figures would be the line items that are listed under IESI with fuel, and that means with a fuel surcharge. And it changes their item quote just a little bit. And so I want you to be able to see that. If you'll notice, there was not any single company that ran the table in terms of all of the items. And what I would like for the council to do, if you would like to, is to interview these 2, ask any questions that you would like, and they are here to respond.
Okay. I guess universally, the one thing that was confusing me a little bit was the IESI with fuel versus the other 2 companies without fuel. Now, I guess depending on the cost of fuel,
the other 2 companies did
what's
not
taken into
include fuel
consideration?
surcharge in their estimate. It would not be in their proposal.
Okay, so what they proposed, for example, once a week residential curbside, where IESI has two prices, the other two companies don't take that into consideration.
Right. IESI bid $7.95 for once a week residential curbside. But if you, I used the figure that was in our October billing from IESI for the fuel surcharge, and dividing it over 546 accounts, it increased that once a week curbside pickup from $7.95 to $8.33. That's why there's two lines in there for IESI, because their contract will include the provision for a fuel surcharge as it has in times past. It was necessary to be able to compare apples to apples. We needed to add that fuel charge in to their estimate. Does that make sense to you, Bart?
Okay. I guess the few questions are probably made might actually pertain to you, Jerry, more than individual companies. I noticed on here that we've got twice a week pickup. Was that a possible consideration?
That is a possible consideration. The council, at one time, if you remember, we spent quite a bit of time trying to determine if our citizens would like to have twice a week pickup.
About a year ago, we sent out
the survey
out to the citizens, and
also
almost 90% of those came back as no, they weren't interested in
yeah,
spending that extra cost.
yeah, and easily understandable. It represented an increase in their charge, and they're not too big on that. I can understand that. But another thing that that we included in our estimate this year that the council had talked about in times past was being able to eliminate some of this tearing of the garbage bags and scattering trash everywhere by using those 96-gallon polycarts. Using the 96-gallon polycart, everybody in town. And that would eliminate the need for putting those bags out on the curb and dogs getting into them or anything like that. So we have in the spreadsheet a price for curbside pickup without the polycarts, which is the first column, and then the residential curbside / PC means with polycart.
Okay. And IESI, how long have they been servicing Vance? It's been several years, hasn't it?
At least 6.
At least 6.
If we went through the contract, which was, I believe, a 3-year contract, and we renewed it again, and this is coming up in this 6 year.
Okay, and that's what we're looking at is 3-year contracts with
Yes.
whichever company?
IESI, y'all locking in for a year at that fuel price, is that for the entire year?
Yes.
Or is that subject to going
Well,
up?
and the fuel
No, it's not.
fluctuates with
It's subject on a national fuel index price.
Right.
If
If
nationally,
the index goes up in a week,
yeah.
It's
It goes
different
up.
every month. It's different every month.
Does Allied and Community do the same?
There was no provision in the request for proposal for a fuel surcharge, so we built that into our rate. It stays the same.
Okay, so if that fuel does go up in a week, our prices don't.
We would have to petition the council and ask for a rate increase and get your approval to do that.
Okay. Okay. I would personally think the number one concern would be the customer service to the citizens and the cost. It's going to be a big thing. Does this cost affect, regardless of which company council chooses, does that affect our cost? I mean, as far as budget-wise, when we set our budget for this year, did we take into consideration of?
Well, in your budget, we used established figures from a contract, but it's a wash because whatever we're charged, we adjust the rates accordingly, and so it's a wash in the budget. And so it doesn't hurt our budget at all.
You're right. I mean, looking at your comparisons, nobody just ran away with anything. They were all very competitive in all areas.
on average, how many index hikes did we go through this year? The fuel.
Would you say that it changed every month? Did it ever go down?
Well, it was kind of up and down, but it was close, but it was different every month. But I can't remember. I can't remember it being the same.
And
But
best
it didn't vary a whole lot.
best estimate, where did we start and where did we finish? Was it $1 difference or?
But it was really significant when the fuel crunch hit big time a couple of years ago. It's pretty much evened out now. The thing to consider, I think, is the fact that including that fuel surcharge in, it increases that first column by about 38 cents per week, per month. And even including the fuel charge in, that still is the better price. Now, what we look at is, does that 833 get a couple of more fuel surcharge hits, and suddenly it's above the others for the week?
Right, now, kind of what I'm getting at with it. It looks good at 833 now, but if it hikes over a certain percentage, I mean, now, naturally, if it goes over a certain percentage, I'm assuming, this is an assumption, that those other companies would have to come back and ask the council, but I mean, I'm assuming if they're coming in at that total, every hike they're gonna add to it will Allied or community or somebody will also have to add to theirs,
Do you think so?
or exceed the cost, and I don't know if that's.
At some point, it's gonna get.
Yeah, you can only believe so much, and then.
If you don't mind,
No, please.
I'll just say, we've taken that into consideration when we came up with our rate. 2008 was devastating for all trash companies, anybody in the trucking industry. And so we're not going to put ourselves in a position where we're going to have to come to you desperately in a year or two from now and say, oh my goodness, we're underwater. We have taken that into consideration. We've learned a lot of lessons from 2008. Diesel was at $4 a gallon then. It's back up to $3.16 a gallon today. So, and it's gone up consistently over the past year, every single week, except for maybe 4 or 5 weeks.